The Doctrine of Emanation in Blavatskyan Theosophy by Dave Marsland of Cardiff Theosophical Society. At its most basic level, the idea of emanation refers to the process of creation in which the Absolute progressively unfolds to give rise to the material world according to a plan originally contained within the Absolute. The Absolute is a principle which is beyond speculation. Emanation is contrary to the idea that the universe arose purely by chance or as a cosmic accident, and postulates that there is an intelligence behind the universe which initiated and guided its creation and continues to guide it. To emanate, the universe must already exist in potential within the Absolute. Emanation is not the same as evolution, which is an apparent process of trial and error and adaptation, which is subordinate within the framework of emanation as the universe moves forward. H.P. Blavatsky explains in her Theosophical glossary as follows. The doctrine of emanation. In its metaphysical meaning, it is opposed to evolution, yet one with it. Science teaches that evolution is physiologically a mode of generation in which the germ that develops the fetus pre-exists already in the parent. The development and final form and characteristics of that germ being accomplished in nature, and that in cosmology the process takes place blindly through the correlation of the elements and their various compounds. Occultism answers that this is only the apparent mode, the real process being emanation, guided by intelligent forces under an immutable law. Therefore, while the occultists and theosophists believe thoroughly in the doctrine of evolution as given out by Kapila and Manu, they are emanationists rather than evolutionists. The doctrine of emanation was at one time universal. It was taught by the Alexandrian as well as by the Indian philosophers, by the Egyptian, the Chaldean and Hellenic hierophants, and also by the Hebrews in their Kabbalah and even in Genesis. For it is only owing to deliberate mistranslation that the Hebrew word adst, A-S-D-T, has been translated angels from the Septuagint when it means emanations, eons, precisely as with the Gnostics. Indeed, in Deuteronomy 33:2, the word adst is translated as fiery law, while the correct rendering of the passage should be, from his right hand went not a fiery law, but a fire according to law, viz. That the fire of one flame is imparted to and caught up by another like, as in a trail of inflammable substance. This is precisely emanation. As shown in Isis Unveiled, in evolution, as it is now beginning to be understood, there is supposed to be in all matter an impulse to take on a higher form, a supposition clearly expressed by Manu and other Hindu philosophers of the highest antiquity. The philosopher's tree illustrates it in the case of the zinc solution. The controversy between the followers of this school and the emanationists may be stated briefly thus. The evolutionist stops all enquiry at the borders of the unknowable. The emanationist believes that nothing can be evolved or, as the word means, unwombed or born, except it has first been involved, thus indicating that life is from a spiritual potency above the whole. In The Secret Doctrine, H.P. Blavatsky says, in occult metaphysics, there are properly speaking two ones. The one on the unreachable plane of absoluteness and infinity, on which no speculation is possible, and the second one on the plane of emanations. The former can neither emanate nor be divided, as it is eternal, absolute and immutable, the second being, so to speak, the reflection of the first one. And also in The Secret Doctrine, the whole cosmos has sprung from the divine thought. This thought impregnates matter, which is co-eternal with the one reality, and all that lives and breathes evolves from the emanations of the one immutable, Parabrahm to Mulaprakriti, the eternal one root. From the absolute to ultimate reality, the process of emanation begins. One analogy used in Blavatskyan Theosophy is that of a tree. Creation begins with the root of the tree, which is below ground, or the equivalent of unmanifest, and the physical manifestation above ground is the branches and leaves. As the energy of the roots flow outwards, it becomes increasingly denser and more material until it reaches the physical realm. The process is preordained within the roots and will produce a tree rather than a rosebush or some unknown plant. The process of emanation in Blavatskyan Theosophy is a hierarchical one. At the top of the hierarchy is the Absolute, followed by various levels of spiritual beings, and finally the material world. Each level of the hierarchy is less spiritual than the level above it. This means that the material world is effectively the furthest removed from the Absolute, and as such is often associated with imperfection and suffering. Despite this apparent distance between the material world and the divine, Blavatskyan Theosophy holds that there is a fundamental connection between them. In fact, Blavatskyan Theosophy maintains that the ultimate goal of spiritual practice is to transcend the material world and reconnect with the divine.